Mhm. Yeah. You know, yeah. It's good to be back. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Yep. And we have an off week. Right. Yep. Right. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, and today we got a comment on one of our recaps from original EXU. Yeah. Someone said, "Thanks for these recaps." And I was like, "Hello, friend from 2 years." 2 years later. So, nice little plug. We do have recaps for those. They are this was the first D&D content that Will and I ever did. So the recaps are a lot probably rougher than what they are now. They're still pretty rough now, but even worse than today. So there you go. But if you want to know what happened in EXU, you can always check out those recaps. So there you go. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Rocco. We should be doing it. Nothing else, but I also just realized that my volumes are all like jacked up, so I'm just like fixing them real quick before I hit record. And they should be good now. No, you're good. Yeah. No, I'm not recording yet. My little style is when we do the recap, I hit record, then I stop it at the end, and then I hit re-record again when we start our discussion. We got layers of complexity to this that if I was smarter, I probably would have figured out. So,
Test, test, test. Okay, I changed something and now I can see it. So I'm worried in my recording, you weren't able to hear me till right now.
well, if this is the first time you're hearing our voice, hello. I guess they just heard me blabbing to like the ethereal, you know,
Yeah.
listen to
So I
the
mean,
talk
what do
like
you? Should we just keep it rolling and or
I think it's pretty on brand to keep it
okay?
rolling,
All
you
right.
know?
Well,
I'd say if we lost the audio, we'll just say, "Hello and welcome. This is our Worlds Beyond Number
yeah,
discussion, and we love you. Thank you for being gentle with us."
yeah.
So,
So yeah, and if you couldn't hear me, what just happened is I realized my mic was being weird. So this may be the first time you're hearing me. Anyways, yeah. Um, yeah, this might be kind of fun to have people
yeah,
piece together one half of the conversation.
let them wonder what we discussed.
Yeah, there we
And
go.
then 30 years from now, it'll be like, "Release the Snyder cut."
That's
You know?
right.
Like,
Ooh,
"Blake, where's the audio?"
I can see the whole
So,
marketing plan now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So, anyhow,
well,
well,
or go ahead.
are I was gonna say, are we ready?
I think so.
Okay. Well, before we dive into our discussion, we like to do a little recap action where we recap what happened in the episode, especially since these episodes can happen over a couple of weeks. You may have forgotten some details. So we like to do a little recap, cut that out as a separate video, and then we dive into our full discussion. So if you're watching just the recap or listening just the recap, click the link in the description to see our full thoughts on the episode. Stalling my breath because I'm actually looking for my notes now. Got them. Boom. Here they are. Okay, so let me pull it over here so it's not on the wrong tab. Again, guys, it's our first time doing this. Oh gosh. Okay, sorry. All of a sudden, I think I will go back and edit this one little section. You're watching the video, you just saw a picture of a
Leave
big
it in.
orangutan. I was on Reddit beforehand, and it was like the amazing things you see out in the wild, and it was like a big monkey. So
Yeah, nice save. Nice save.
yeah. Sweating tears. Anyway, okay, back to my notes now. Okay, so the episode opens. This was episode 24. I think it was called Knock Knock.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. This episode opens up with Ame having just used the tile to teleport to the North Pole. And we find one of our intrepid heroes out in this absolute blizzard. Snow up to, I think Brennan describes like past her knees, like into her thighs. The fox is freezing. She has the little jingling, like magic eating grasshopper creature that's like tingling in its little cage, and, going wild. And Brennan describes like this harsh landscape, this sort of like wintry night, and a number of massive mountaintops higher than she could ever imagine. And Brennan even implies that Ame even wonders, could this be not just the highest mountain she's ever seen, but could this very literally be the highest points in the entire world? She begins traveling to that mountain range. She steps through what appears to be some kind of magical barrier, where as soon as she steps through it, the blizzard becomes much less harsh. And she surmises this is some kind of like magical force protecting the domain of the Witch of Wind and Stars. As she passes through here, she is greeted by a polar bear. This polar bear, which, seems like a fuzzy little fun creature, this is Costa, known as the Eternal Unbeloved, the walker and watcher, and the familiar to the Witch of Wind and Stars. Costa has come to escort Ame to essentially the throne of this witch, and eventually they make themselves to the base of one of the mountains. And Costa offers a gift to essentially ferry Ame up this bridge to where she can meet the witch. In return, Ame offers a gift of her own. She offers some saltwater taffy, I think like a watermelon flavor of it. And Costa's like, I'm good, thank you, though. Doesn't want it. But one of the ice fairies pops up that we saw in a previous episode and gobbles it up. As Ame ascends to the top of this mountain, Brennan describes it being so high that Ame almost can't even fully catch her breath. Not only that, this is a sight to see of endless towers. Brennan describes at least 10 different keeps that are seen, and it's finally at the very top that these two massive doors open, and the Witch of Wind and Stars steps out. This is Indri. Brennan describes her as being this woman of incredible beauty, demanding a deep sense of reverence, pale white skin, red lips, a staff in one hand, and Ame has to make a wisdom saving throw lest she fall in love immediately. And she is successful in this saving throw. It's a very fun scene, by the way. Aabria is just like losing it with how cool Brennan is describing everything. The music is incredible. And essentially, Ame steps inside and begins having this conversation with Indri to get a sense of the events to come. They exchange kind of like this ceremonial like goblet and snack with one another. And Indri offers a cheers and says, to having our breath taken away in the best of ways. A little bit of a cryptic little line there. And Ame notices that as Indri talks about her own experiences with grandmother Rin, that Indri doesn't actually call her grandmother Rin. She just refers to her as Rin. And it leads Ame to wonder exactly how old is Indri. Indri asks about Ame's retinue and says basically like, "Hey, it's understandable for the witches of the world to travel here and bring their retinue. You had a retinue. Where are they?" And Ame explains that they had that Ursulon and Suvi had their own things to take care of, that they're not here presently, but she does have her fox, her familiar. Indri asks, "What's the fox name?" And Ame says, "This is the fox of the forest and shrine." A very untraditional title, but the fox owns it nonetheless. Um, Indri sort of, again, it's a bit uncertain what she's thinking, but she basically says like, "Well, that's okay if you don't have a retinue. Like other people will be arriving shortly with their retinue." And Ami says like, "Well, mine are coming. They will be here." And Indri's like, "Oh, okay, that's very interesting." The conversation is interrupted when a spirit arrives by the name of Aura. And Aura basically says to Indri, "My lady, there is a ship of the Citadel fast approaching, presumably Suvi's ship approaching." We cut away of there, a cutaway from there to a land far away, the forest of Gauthmai, where we find Ursulon having a beautiful family reunion with Kalaya and Kalaya's family. There are a number of people present. There's Kalaya herself, also her three kids, her two daughters and her son, their spouses, and then their kids as well. And they're all in this little hovel beneath the base of this tree. They're eating this amazing soup. Brennan has an incredible description of just like the flavors and just the feeling of this area, and even asks Ursulon to describe three of the different people that he would notice. Specifically, he asks, "Hey, who would be the family member to have brought you your food? Who would have stoked the fire? And who would have fell asleep on you?" He describes the, I think, 5 or 6 year old nephew that would have fallen asleep on him. One of, I think it was Kalaya's son who would have brought the food to him. And then interestingly, the one who stoked the fire is Bella, who Aabria quips to describe as Cinderbella, because this is a woman who seemingly effortlessly can just reach into the fire, add a log to it, pick up embers, pick up coals, and is not affected by the fire whatsoever. Now, remember that Kalaya is a spirit herself, that she married a human man, and her children are presumably half spirits, for lack of a better phrase. They're having a beautiful conversation where they become very quiet as they can hear the bombs of the citadel being dropped in the jungle nearby, far away. And then finally, Ursulon's able to have a conversation with Kalaya on really how she got here and like what her life's been like. We find out that she's been here for some 120 years, and both of her husbands are from Gauthmai, though her ex-husband, which she describes as being dead to her, and then her actual dead late husband. She met one of them in the Citadel. She met the other one afterwards. She explains to Ursulon that she did know Soft, that she saw him waving at her as she was escaping out from the Kasov collection. She talks about her disdain for the spindly, spidery character Pomeroy, and also mentions her relief in knowing that Ursulon did not, in fact, die in the Battle of Starling Ford, but that is, however, where Sir Curran did pass away, where he did die. She also has a number of things that she has collected over the years. Do you want to take it from there?
Yeah. Let me just pick up in my notes really quick. All right. So yeah, Kalaya wants to basically bestow upon Ursulon some of these magical things she stole from her time in the Citadel. So there's actually three things. The first is this magic coin that, when flipped by a spirit, will always land heads, and flipped by a mortal will always land tails. And then Kalaya's children say, and for us, it just works normally since they're like hybrids. The next item is this dagger with like an antler handle to it.
Right.
And it's a +1 dagger, but also if you spin it upon the ground, It will basically point you to like nearest civilization is the way I understood it. So you could use it as like a means to tell you how to escape from somewhere. Like if you're deep in a dungeon or you're like in an underground cavern, if you point this dagger, it's going to point you towards like how to get out of
Escape,
there,
basically.
basically.
Yeah.
And then finally, she gives him some black leather boots. That they're not like damaged, but they're very like worn in. I think the one of the descriptions Brennan gave was that the soles like don't reflect light at all, and when Kalaya drops them from like a few feet up, they land without making any noise. So these boots are completely quiet when you're traveling in them. Um, in return for this, Ursulon wants to give his sister something, so he digs through his pack and actually retrieves a pearl from Chura's Chowder, the restaurant in Haverwort. And Kalaya is like, "Oh, that didn't exist when I was there." And so they have a kind of brief little discussion about how the Citadel has changed in the time that Kalaya was there compared to now. Like Haverwort was dangerous and a place that like she seemingly didn't even go. And she tells a quick story. About how like the traveling doors used to be different and you kind of they're not what they are today where you can just walk through them, these big powerful things. They were like things you had to queue for. And she mentions like one time um by cutting in line by using her friend Roderick, and they went to a city named Castagore or Castagain. So an interesting detail that nothing is really fleshed out about. But whenever Ursulon brings up, has have you ever been home, like to the spirit world? Suddenly his sister gets really quiet and she says, "I'm tired, like I need to go to sleep." And so she gets up and heads back. And Ursulon does an insight check, and as he does, he can kind of see that her glamour is like kind of glitching, fading a bit. But he realizes that like it's almost as if her glamour isn't a glamour and it's her like true form, kind of. And while this is happening, Ursulon can see that Kalaya's two daughters are kind of having an argument. Um, and he goes over to them and he's like, he can tell they're like worried. And he's like, how old is Kalaya? And they say, she's over 120 now. And they got the impression that, you were kind of the only thing she was holding on for. Um, and then Brennan again describes the daughters kind of slipping into an argument they've had many times before, where one is saying, like, it's going to be her time soon. And the other one's like, well, yeah, but it doesn't have to be. And Ursulon's like, what do you guys mean? And just so we don't get confused here, Mahara is one of the daughters, and Adi, I believe, is the other. And so Mahara says, a spirit can't come to this world and live forever. That the world kind of takes its sting on spirits. And, she's been here a long time and she's tried to help other way shadowed spirits. And, one day, just like them, she will ultimately like fade out and join our father if she was to remain here. And then Adi chimes in and is like, or not. And Mahara at that point kind of takes her leave as if she doesn't want to hear her sister kind of go through this again. But Adi tells Ursulon that Kalaya hasn't learned her true form in many, many years, as it takes too much effort for her to kind of like transform in that way. So she's just been wearing her glamour so long that like that's her these days, basically. And Adi believes that she's actually been pressured to wear that glamour, and to ultimately kind of pass on and join their father. And she loves her father, don't get her wrong, but her mom's a spirit, a wild one. And so she thinks if she were to die wearing that glamour, some great thing would leave this world forever. Whereas opposed, if she went home, who knows what might happen. And she thinks that's what their dad would actually want, for her to go home and continue being a wild one. Anyway, she apologizes for Ursulon. She's like, I didn't mean you just got here. I'm not trying to bring you into our family drama. um, but then she kind of prepares some blankets and sets him up for the night to sleep before the fireplace. And Ursulon, describes that he falls asleep with joy in his heart. At this point, we cut to Suvi on the deck of her ship, the Meridian. And Brennan starts us off by basically asking Aabria to describe three crew members. The first one is one she trusts the most. And she basically describes this tall woman, blonde hair, sturdy, kind of hardy. And Suvi finds comfort in that. And Brennan says, the wizard Straw. She's basically like this engineer that kind of found this sailing life and really took to it, and so she stayed there. And she's the helmswoman of the Meridian. The next is a crew member who's a bit of a mystery to Suvi. So Suvi describes this older Asian man, salt and pepper hair, very clean cut, but very quiet. Doesn't give off bad vibes, but doesn't give off good vibes. He just no vibes at all. And Brennan says this is Rasper. He's not a wizard of the Citadel, but he came aboard with a special focus on the cargo that was also loaded on the ship. But Suvi doesn't know much more, and he carries a rapier at his side. And finally, a crew member whose competence has surprised Suvi the most. So, Aabria describes another young wizard who's about Suvi's age with thick brown hair, and she is yet unname cloaked. So, she is the wizard Maddie, presumably short for Madeline or something like that. So, after those descriptions, Suvi is told that, like, she has a call waiting on the speaking mirror, basically. So she goes down into her quarters, and on the speaking mirror is her page, Yulia, and she has an update on Ghost. She says that she found the name appeared on a register for an interview in the city of Cairo at an Azure Battalion outpost, conducted by the wizard named Cutlass, who is a guild mage of the Glass Coronet. And Suvi knows Cairo is like a really populous city in Umora, so it kind of makes sense that she might have stopped there on the way to the Citadel. But there's still no record of Ghost in the Citadel. So Suvi wants to inquire more about this interview. So she asks Yulia to like find out more about what happened. That call ends, and immediately another one comes in from Steel. And Suvi can see that she has a telemet with her, which is, if you recall, this device that basically allows the long distance casting of spells. And Steel's like, hey, open that case next to you, where within it is a telemet for Suvi to use. And there's also this little potion and like a little hidden compartment in this case. So Steel tells Suvi about the compartment, and inside she pulls out this wooden box. And Steel says, we're going to talk very quickly now as you're approaching your destination. That wooden box is actually a music box. And she opens up, there's like a dancer inside and a mirror that's like shattered and repaired with silver. And Steele says this is a big opportunity for us, so we want to make the most of it. Witches have an opinion of wizards that we're devious and buffoonish, and when someone underestimates you, don't get in their way. So we have a plan, and then we have a fake plan. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this music box amongst your things. It's magical, but so are a lot of things that you carry, so it should be innocuous. And then you're going to place your hand on this telemat, and I'm going to place a spell on you. A spell that is going to compel you to take a specific set of actions. And then you're going to drink that potion. What the potion's going to do is it's going to make you forget everything I just said. It's going to make you forget the last 10 minutes. She does say, like, I'm recording this call on my end, so, like, I'll later be able to show you this and you can, hopefully regain these memories. But we're doing this because the witches will be able to read your mind. So if you go into there like knowing any type of plan, they're going to be privy to it. But, if I put this spell on you that's going to force you to act a certain way, and then we erase your memory, they hopefully won't be able to figure out this plan. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in the castle, find the library, the biggest library you can, place the music box there, open it, try to hide it if you can. And then you need to ensure that somebody sings, somebody not of the Citadel. Any song, any reason, doesn't have to be long, but somebody has to sing. And then you need to go retrieve the music box. Steele does talk about how, like, this compulsion spell will, like, kind of make weaker people crumble. Like, they won't be like, why do I think I have to do this? And they'll like freak out. But she says brilliant minds won't have that problem because they will just manufacture a reason that they think they need to do this. So you're brilliant, Suvi, so this shouldn't be a problem. It's all going to be fine. So that's the real plan. Steele then says we have a fake plan as well. There is a magical scroll on your desk that you're going to get the Witch of Toma to sign, and it basically says you'll agree to, be her retinue on this meeting to help her out, and in return, she's going to do everything she can to basically advocate for humanity and the Citadel. And we're going to take that scroll and hide it in the wizard straw's staff, which has an abjurative effect on it. And after you take that potion, fall asleep, forget your memory, you're going to wake up, and I'm going to explain this fake plan to you. And you're going to walk in there believing that that's the real plan. So Suvi's like a little, a little iffy about this, but she trusts Steel. So she's like, okay. And she places her hand on the telemat. Steel casts the spell and basically does exactly what I just said, gives her these instructions with the music box. But she does add on the final line of, you will complete this at any cost, which is interesting. The spell has a saving throw, but Aabria elects to not even try to save on it. And so the spell happens. There's a quick little note of Suvi likes to like tap her fingers or tap her foot as like a memorization exercise. And so she does kind of tap her finger as this is happening. And Brennan says that you won't remember like what you're forgetting right now, but you will remember this spell. So if this spell is ever cast again, you'll know it's not the first time it's been cast. So spell is cast. Suvi drinks the potion. She sits down, and a little while later, she kind of comes to. She only remembers like having walked down the stairs, and then she hears Steele's voice kind of call out to her. And Steele then explains the fake plan, basically saying, "Hey, get Ame to sign this contract. We're gonna hide it in the Wizard Straw's staff. It's gonna be great." And Suvi's like, "Okay." And Rasper then actually comes knocking on the door, and he's like, "Hey, I've come to collect the telemet. May I?" And Suvi's like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." And she does notice him throw a small vial in the box, which is the potion she just drank, which she thinks is a little weird, but she doesn't press it. And he's like, "Yep, just gonna, make sure this stays safe so we can keep using it." And Suvi's like, "Okay." And she then walks back up to the deck of the ship and can basically see this castle as they're approaching it. And there's like a magical pier of ice that is being built to like have the ship arrive at it when it gets here. And she can also see Ame up ahead. And that is where the episode ends. Again, episode 24 of Worlds Beyond Number. Knock, knock. Boom.
Great job, my friend. Great
Whew,
job.
long one.
Okay. So we're back.
We're back.
I think I want to start with Taylor Moore. Bro,
Bro.
every break we come back, every arc we come back to music that is just better and better. I've always enjoyed the music, but this was the first time that I was like, dude, I need to find these tracks for my own like D&D content.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wonder
they're
if
very good.
they'll ever put them out. I hope so. I bet they will.
Yeah. The music when Ame was like experiencing like the vastness of the North Pole Castle, for lack of a better phrase,
Yeah.
that was really good. And then Kalaya's theme song, I guess,
Yeah.
was also really awesome. So music was great as always.
Agreed. It really takes it to the next level. It's like I don't know, it's like a big part of the world building, I feel like. And there's so
Yeah.
much like intentionality that goes into it. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to, they did like a special fireside chat that was just Taylor talking about like his process and stuff. Was really cool because like certain instruments go with like certain characters and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, especially that ice castle moment just felt so like grandiose because of the music. I felt like I was walking into like Cinderella's castle at Disney World type of thing.
I mean, speaking of Cinderella's castle, I got big Wicked Witch, or Wicked stepmother, whatever.
From
Just
Injury.
yeah, from Endry. Just also very. I never watched the whole series because I think it was a trilogy, but the very first, oh, I can't even think what it's called. Not Lord of the Rings. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm,
The witch from that. I got very big vibes. Very like, captivating and reverent, and yet, not necessarily that she is sinister, but definitely like can be cutthroat if need be, I guess.
yeah,
So
that's kind of how I feel. I was curious to get like a pulse on witches in general, because Marara or whatever, she obviously kind of had some more sinister vibes, like not necessarily
Right.
evil, but like she just kind of gave off the vibe. But that doesn't, I mean, and we do know that they like, at least if we can take the wizard Sly at his word, we do know that these witches are basically planning to overthrow Ame, or get rid of her station. So like that's
Mhm.
obviously not chill. But like, is Indri necessarily a bad person? Like, like I'm very curious about, because she's a human, right? At the end of the day, but like maybe like because I mean, I guess not. Well, she's not a spirit. I wouldn't guess. I guess is what I'm getting at. Um, so I'm just curious about like, I don't know. I guess like just where she stands on things. Like, is it like a selfish kind of motivation behind things, or is it like this is what for her station of the Wind in the Stars that like she thinks is best for the world. Like, like I want to know the nuance here, because she did seem like kind of okay. Like I wasn't getting like overtly like evil vibes. She was like trying to be polite with the fox, and but I mean some of that might just be like professional decorum that needs to be
I mean,
held.
Brennan knows how to, he knows how to build a conniving character. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
could definitely see like the elimination of Ame being like strictly business, where it's like, hey, this is what we're voting on. This is what okay, majority wins. Sorry, you got to die. You know, um, but I could also see like a very maniacal, like twist of like, um, because it's very interesting. I loved how it was all played out. Ame's clearly out of her depth,
Yeah.
clearly naive, and I don't know. I was very like kind of on the edge of my seat, like, where is this conversation going?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you made a good point of her being human. She is human, but she's clearly older than a traditional. So I guess being a witch extends your life.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
so. And I was wondering how much.
um, excuse me.
I think being a witch does clearly extend your life, but I'm also curious about like, cuz she's beautiful, like the most beautiful person ever, right? Which, so does that mean there's spells involved there? Because if she is human, like surely that wouldn't just be natural. But yeah, I don't know. And again, like there's several, or not several, but four, I want to say. Five total with Ame in this enclave, I
I don't
think.
remember, honestly.
Um I think it would be too easy to have them all just, and again, not that Marara is evil, not that any of them are evil, but I think it would be too easy to have them all be like bad guys. I think it'd be more interesting and nuanced if like, maybe there were some, you know, chill witches in the enclave, and just maybe still, even if they are, maybe they could still just be convinced that, okay, yeah, this is for the best. We do need to get rid of Ame's station, and less of a like, yes, power grab. Let's destroy one of us. So
No, I
not to
mean,
say that. You're sorry. Go ahead.
let's just say if we take the conversation at face value between Marara and Grandmother Wren, I mean, they're at an impasse where they deeply believe like the fate
Yeah.
of Umora and the spirit realm, I guess, are tied to what they think is best. And so what they think is best could be very easily like, hey, your station, it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So I think you're right there. I think that's more accurate than a um, you know who Indri reminds me of
Hmm.
is the commander from wasn't the commander, was like one of the number twos from Castle Black from Game of Thrones. The one who ultimately betrays Jon Snow,
Hmm.
kind of like the older, more grizzled
Yeah.
soldier.
Yeah.
I kind of get vibes of like clearly more experienced, clearly knows the lay of the land, and clearly has like a respect about them. And you're never really clear, can I count on this person or can I not?
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of get those similar vibes.
Yeah. I see that, and I don't know if this would be like too obvious. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I'm assuming like very narcissistic, like with
Mm.
all the beauty and the grandiose, everything, and potentially spell casting to keep her youth.
It's very narcissistic. Because think
Yeah.
about this: endless beauty of this castle, like rooms that will never be seen by a single living soul. And like, what was like the keep they stepped into that was like it was so vast and large that like it could have been like its own like outdoor. I can't remember the description of
Yeah,
it,
like you
but
felt like you were outside. It was so big.
exactly. So like endless um architecture that serves no functional, just sort of waste, I guess. So I absolutely think that's a great way to describe it, of just
Yeah.
like this narcissism.
I think you're completely right that that is just as big as it is for show more than function. But I was curious, like, how many people live here? You said there were 10
Mm,
keeps, you know, like is there at least like not that any amount of people would make it justifiable, but like is there at least like people in every part of the castle, or is it like three people that live here, you know?
mhm,
I'm curious. And yeah, I want to know more about this Thane of power, like wind and stars translating to beauty and, you know, majesty. I do feel like the stars kind of make sense insofar as like people wish upon a star, like so like their desires, and like I think the line Brennan said was if you desire something, like you desire injury, like only if you're void of that would that like not work on you. Um so yeah, I just want to know more about like what her specific realm is.
mhm,
It beyond just wants and desires. Maybe that's it.
mhm.
I'm curious
Right,
how like the wind plays into that.
right. Yeah. Okay. So they exchange pleasantries. Um, they get interrupted of Suvi arriving. Were there other things from this first
Um
third that you want to talk about before we go to Ursulon?
I thought
Oh, excuse me.
for Costa, this isn't big, but when you were saying one, I'm just curious like how he got those titles and
I
like
know.
were those titles before he became the familiar or after, you know? Um and you said the eternal unbeloved.
Yeah.
When I heard it, I thought it was eternal and beloved, which vastly different
Oh.
meanings there. So I'm
Maybe
curious.
well, maybe I got it wrong because I listened to it, 2 weeks ago when it first came out.
Yeah.
So maybe I got it wrong.
Well, I'm not saying that I did, but I just when you said that I clocked it because I was like, okay, wait, that's a completely different meaning.
Because well, the only reason it stuck out to me is 'cause when the polar bear was first announced, I was like, "Oh, that's so fun, cool," and then it was like, "The eternal unbeloved," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." So not a happy bear.
I feel like unbeloved would fit the vibe much better. If it is beloved, I would assume it was just in reference to injury. Like
Mhm.
they beloved each other, not like a general everyone loves Costa, because I doubt it.
Yeah,
Um
let me see if I can, like, look it up real quick while we're chatting.
yeah, I wondered, I mean, to have did he have more titles than that, or was it just that? I might have written it
Yeah,
down.
Eternal Unbeloved, Walker and Watcher, and then
Yep.
Familiar to the Witch of Wind and Stars. Let's see here.
So yeah, that's I mean that's a lot, you know,
Mhm.
3 titles, which I would assume that he's a polar bear and not a spirit, because I mean,
Right,
so,
right.
um, yeah, I just wonder, like but I guess also familiars basically live as long as their witches do, so he could be hundreds of years old even as a normal polar bear,
Right.
but yeah, I just, you know, it was a quick flex as soon as the episode started that this familiar is like the most titled being we've seen besides the stranger so far.
Yeah. I can't find it, unfortunately, because it's not a solid, like, wiki source,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I'm very interested, for sure, on the
Yeah. I mean,
title.
at the end of the day, it doesn't change much, but I was just curious.
Yeah.
Uh, the only other thing, which we basically already talked about, is how old is Indri, considering she referred to grandmother Rin as Rin, and yet she's young and beautiful. But then also, and you mentioned this in your recap, that line about like take our breath away, it stood out to me as well. And it even like was doubly, it was like doubled down on innocuously. Like, cause I think even Brennan or Indri in character said like, in a good way or something. But the fact that breath has that like double meaning in the spirit world
Yeah.
just made me wonder if that was like a little kind of underhanded like
Uh,
statement.
I think Brennan's brilliant at like creating this kind of character because you're just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Good thing you're beautiful. If you were extremely ugly, I'd be
Yeah.
all aboard your evil train.
Yeah.
So,
I'm curious what would have happened if she had failed that check to fall in
right,
love with her. I kind of hope
right,
Suvi fails it, or if Ursulon shows up, he fails it.
yeah, yeah, same. That'd be
Which,
great,
not that we need to like shift gears completely, but Suvi's there. Do you
right?
think Ursulon's somehow going to get there?
I actually was wondering if maybe he wouldn't. I almost wondered if he would have like a mission to get Kalaya to the spirit world.
Yeah.
That's kind
Yeah.
of what I wondered was like maybe I don't know.
It does seem,
Functionally,
but
I'll just
sorry.
say functionally from like a D&D table point of view, Lou Wilson's probably thinking what's the quickest route from A to B.
Hmm.
Um, but character-wise, I would kind of be intrigued to see this be Suvi and Ame's little adventure and they reunite with Ursulon later.
True. I could see it going either way. It feels like Brennan kind of like gave Ursulon something to latch onto if he wants to with the Kalaya thing. Um, and I guess similarly, it's D&D. Like if Lou made it known, like I want to try to get there, I'm sure Brennan would carve a path for that.
Mhm.
Whatever that would look like. Um, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, when the wizard Sly gave that prediction that Ame would die basically if her friends weren't there, was it specifically Suvi? Because I know that she was got like a directed piece of information about that.
Yeah,
So was
it
it
was
just Suvi that like needed to be there?
I think it was, yeah. If
Okay.
Suvi's not there, you'll be dead. And then like the longer term prophecy was Ursulon, you'll need a shield because in a year's time,
Oh, that's
if you
right.
don't have one, your friends will also die.
That's right. Okay. So yeah, Ursulon doesn't have to be there, I guess.
Right.
Um,
Right.
which I am interested to see if what happens with this Kalaya thing, because I don't know. I don't really don't know what whose team Ursulon would be on in that debate. I think he would maybe want her to go home, I guess, since he can't. But um, yeah, that'd be interesting. And yeah, as far as like that being a mission for him, he can't go home, but maybe he could like
I
guide her
think
to a
there's
portal or something.
yeah, I think there's I'm leaning towards her going home, whether Ursulon takes that quest or not. It just seems more compelling or just more right
Yeah,
for her character. But I think there's something poetic about him ferrying her to the means of like going home. Um, since we found out that she herself took helped many spirits along their way.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
he's
I,
the reason she left, right? So like kind of
right,
closing that loop of yeah,
yeah, there's kind of a nice full circle feel of she left looking for him, has spent her whole life finding him, and at the end of the day, he helps her go back home. I don't know. I think it's very nice and
yeah.
tidy.
I
So
wonder if hybrids can go to the spirit world. Like I
that's
wonder if her
very
kid
interesting.
like because that would be the biggest thing, right? Like if she goes, she's away from her family,
Mhm.
and it wouldn't
Well,
feel like it would feel like an easy choice if they could just come visit,
yeah.
you know. So maybe they can't.
One other thing I wasn't clear on was it was said that Kalaya had helped many way shadowed spirits over the years. Was the implication that she had helped them go home? Or just that she had like helped them
Um,
as a
how,
general term?
how I took it when they were talking about that is that she had helped many spirits, and then I thought there were two categories. Like she helped some go return home, and then Others, aka those that were way shadowed and can't come home, she helped them kind of find a life here.
Okay, I think
But
that's right too, because I
but
think
I don't yeah, I
there's
don't think she like found a way.
yeah, because I think there was even a line like help them in whatever direction she could send them or
Yeah.
something like that. I think was the line. So, and then I didn't mention it in the recap, but a couple other details was two both of which I want to talk about. The fact that they had worked in that town until like 5 years prior before they had to leave, and that like this side of the world, it's much more common to see spirits out and about. Um, is the implication that like the Citadel bombings, like, forced them to leave? Or like, I missed the detail on why they no longer live in that town that was, like, 5 days travel away.
I'm not even remembering that part. So I know I might need to refresh because I listened
Well,
to the
yeah, he was asking, like, "How did you all come to be here?" And, they basically said, like, "We used to live in this town. It's 5 days
so
travel."
the kids, or I
Oh,
guess
I thought it was
all of them, I
I think it
guess.
was all of them, and then
Okay.
they had to leave, and they, like, found this place. I think, maybe not actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Um, but the other detail that I wanted to ask you about, Kalaya's description of the Citadel over
Mm,
70 years,
yeah.
and how when she was first there, it was so easy to hide herself because the divination magic was kind of wonky and whatever, and,
Yeah.
people kinda chalked her, like, magical style up to just a difference of style in general.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think, like, caused the Citadel, and I think it was even described that the Citadel was almost like a museum or something, like, just like a university, like a place to study magic, and
Yeah.
now it's its own force, really. What's your guess on, like, what's happened in 70 years to, like, really cause it to evolve so substantially?
Yeah. It on like a meta scale, it just feels kind of like, the evils of power structure, type of thing, like the corruption, like people got greedy and stuff in that regard, but like on a more grounded level, I need to go back and like look through my notes at these dates because I'm curious if like a period of war is like kind of what the difference was and kind of forced them in that direction. Um but yeah,
Wasn't there
other
also Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say other than that, I don't really know other than just like kind of a natural evolution of something becoming, worse in a way.
What was the lo it was in an episode with so much lore, but when Suvi was, like, looking for notes on the Battle of Starling Ford, there was also, like, this other event where, like, one group was up against another group, and this group got, like, wiped out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember enough of the details, but
I know
I
what you're
wonder if
talking about.
that somehow ties into, like, the militarization of the
Mhm.
Citadel and, um, because the Irian is, like, now a, staging point for wizards and soldiers and,
Yeah.
um, it's definitely not like a university, I guess. I mean, I
Right.
guess in some regards it is, but it feels like very much like a tactical, strategic place more so than anything else.
Yeah. Agreed. Um, yeah, totally agreed. It definitely felt like a felt more like Hogwarts when she was there, like the way she was describing, like a place of learning and coming together, and now it's more of like a world power. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I don't remember either, like to give you the specific names, but I know what you're talking about. There were basically like two rival factions and one wiped out the other.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I bet that also maybe it's not the direct answer, but I bet some type of like war and militarization was also happening during that period that like caused it to evolve that way.
Mhm.
Which is just it was cool to kind of like have that nuance of world building from Brennan to like not only that, but then also like the Haverwork conversation where like, oh, you shouldn't go there. Like that was a bad part of town in my day. It's just like that little stuff like really makes the world feel alive, because like
Mhm.
similar if you talk to your grandma about like a city, like her experience would be completely different. Um, so I liked that. And then I
We live in the South. We asked our grandparents, there'd probably be, like, some very racist things said. Like,
don't
"Ooh."
go to Haverwort.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
But
"Ooh."
one thing that was
Time for bed.
cool on in the fireside chat for this episode, which I got a chance to listen to like right before we sat down, is Brennan was talking about how like this moment with Kalaya, and like like this wasn't the plan for Ursulon to like this early find his sister and have these moments. It was just a product of like the choices Ursulon made and some really high rolls, Brennan said. So he said like if things had played out slightly differently, then like you maybe wouldn't have met Kalaya until like chapter 5, 6, or 7 of this story. So I just thought that was cool that like
Yeah.
it was that much in flux.
Well, and it's a really cool style for Brendan as the DM. You know, I think as the DM, you have sort of like these grand possible massive turning points.
hmm
I think you need to as a good DM. I think if it's just like there's like the players are laying the the bricks as they're stepping on them and you don't have any play in it, it
hmm
can be kind of directionless. So I think you do need to have these like greater points in your mind of like, ooh, what about when he finally meets his sister? I just love Brennan's boldness of like, okay, here you go. You found her. And it ended up being like, I think sometimes we think we have to build up to those really compelling moments. Like it can't happen before chapter 5.
Yeah.
But I personally felt like this and last episode's interaction with Kalaya was so sweet
Yeah.
and such a great payoff. I enjoyed how it all now has happened.
Yeah. Me too. It also provides, this is something else they talked about, which I won't be able to like encapsulate, but they're just talking about like that Ursulon has now like experienced this. Like he actually has found literal family for the first time in his life, really.
Mhm.
And like how's that going to change his like character journey and what he wants now? Because that's really interesting to be like presented with that this early in the story. Like I could just stay here. Like, I have a home now. I have people, my family, like what's to keep me adventuring, which he obviously is going to, but I did think that was an interesting like dynamic by giving that moment so early in the story.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you think a character's journey is going to be like a stereotypical like quest of like finding family and
Yeah.
then, you know, 10 episodes in they find it and you're like, "Oh, okay."
What do I do now?
Yeah. So I think what's fun is Brennan's characters. I mean, they're so professional, and I think Lou's probably extremely excited about like, okay, yeah, I thought this might be like an underlying tone throughout my journey of finding Kalaya. Well, now she's found, and so um, we got a couple of breadcrumbs. I mean, we know that Sir Curran has died in the Battle of Starling Ford, which we may have already known that. I might have just forgotten that.
Yeah, we did know that.
Um, okay, yeah, that's what I think I said it in the recap. Then after the fact, I was like, I think actually we knew that already. But I wonder if he's gonna pull on that thread anyway, and just I don't know what there is to like discover about it. But this battle keeps coming up, and if this battle has come up this many times,
Yeah, it feels important.
it feels too important to
Yeah.
just there not be something very key about it.
Yeah, I think that was that in whatever way was is going to end up being like a turning point for something. And you know, it could go, I don't even want to just randomly speculate, but I agree I think
Well,
that
and
thread will be pulled on.
not to put down the time travel card, but is it possible Ursulon will be in the Battle of Starling Ford? He just doesn't know
Mm,
it yet,
that would be
you
cool.
know?
I mean,
And there's a
there isn't, I mean, there is time travel in a way via
Mhm.
time dilation with like the spirit world
Right,
teleporting. Now,
right.
Earthlon specifically is way shadowed, so like that may not be an option for him. But I'm
Mhm.
just crazier things could happen. I
'Cause,
don't
like,
necessarily see it happening, but I think it could.
wasn't Suvi's mom, like, studying it too or something? Like, wasn't there, like, some notes on it, like, from her
I don't
stuff?
remember.
Or I don't know.
It
Maybe I'm
wouldn't
just
surprise me.
yeah, okay. I
I
might be
mean,
misplacing her just trying to find out more information and this battle got brought up or something, but
which
it's
not a
clearly
strong
important
segue
now.
here, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I mentioned this in my recap, my half about. I wonder if that name that Kalaya just dropped in that city, or it all like was that just random like fluff from Brennan, or was that something?
Mm.
Roderick and Castamere or something like that. I'm just wondering if that'll have any later significance. Um,
All names as DMs are important.
yeah,
Anytime you name something, there's a reason for it. That's
agreed.
I,
So like
I just
maybe not the fact that like whatever Kalaya did that day when she went with Roderick, like maybe that's not important, but like the city of Castamere might hold some
yeah.
importance or something.
Now, if you're one of
Um,
my players, I'll drop a name and then like later reveal a connection to that name, and they'll have long forgotten it by then. So
this is the
you'll
way.
be like, and this person's name is Roderick, and they're just like, cool, nice to meet you, Roderick. But you got a letter saying he killed the king like 5 episodes. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's classic.
I'm like, you
I
guys notice anything? They're like, nope, he seems nice enough.
let's move on. See you,
Yeah.
Roderick.
See you, Roderick. Here, hold my stuff and all my
Yeah,
gold while we're in this dungeon.
you want to babysit?
Yeah.
Um, I also
Yeah.
wonder. I think we will definitely at some point meet her ex, Kalaya's ex, which this complete conjecture on my part, but given the like disdain for the ex, he's dead to me, and that this ex was met at the Citadel. I'm wondering if that's how she got caught because she said that the second husband who passed away knew my secret going in. The first husband, the ex, like found out. So I wonder if like he found out, felt betrayed, and like turned her in, and that's why she got like imprisoned in the Kassoff collection and why she hates him.
Well, we know that both exes are from Gauthmai. Could or both exes, her late husband and the ex. Could it be our friendly shapeshifter?
Oh, Yorin?
You think it's too do you think that's too strong of a connection there? Or could it be because Yorin would have, maybe come to the Citadel to chat with Soft and Stone and mm,
I guess my only question there would be would he be considered somebody from the like did he live at the Citadel and like practice there or was he just
I don't
showing
ask these
up?
questions when I
Yeah.
come up with my latest theory.
uh yeah, I don't
If
know.
you
I
want if
mean,
you want accurate theories, this is not the channel. This is pure conjecture,
that's right.
and then we rally whenever it's correct.
That's right. That's
So,
exactly right.
no,
Um
I think you're right, though. I think it'd be very interesting to find out who her ex is.
it could
Um,
even be somebody they've met, but I doubt it.
yeah. It always gets on my nerves when players not actual play nerves towards the players, but when there's the question's never asked and what's their name.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes I feel like it's kind of like mutually intentional to keep it
Yeah.
vague, but I do wonder if we'll get a name drop before they leave, but
Yeah.
maybe not.
I hope so. It'd be nice to know.
So,
But yeah, I wondered about that. And also
well, let's
this is
go ahead.
really quick and we know that Ursulon had his brothers and sisters were all different species and, types because his dad was getting around, right? I don't know how
Yeah.
the spirit genealogy works, but I'm curious if Bella is immune to fire because we know Ursulon had a brother that was like fire. He's like a fire spirit. So I
Oh.
wonder if that's the connection or like because it's an uncle, it wouldn't have like,
I
just
thought it was like I kind of thought it was like The Incredibles, where like the child is born and how like the variations of like just like a kid could have blue eyes instead of brown eyes,
yeah.
maybe how their power is um demonstrated could be
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I mean, makes
who
sense
knows?
cuz especially cuz she's like a second generation spirit, first generation hybrid.
Right.
So like maybe just some
Right.
weird things
Yeah.
happen.
I do like that we got hybrids. I think Brennan leaned into the fact that
Yeah.
if there's a species out there, people will find a way to so
True. Um
let's move on to the for me the most interesting.
yes.
And I'm really here's for the listeners. I'm gonna say I feel like we've been called out on being suspicious of
Steel.
Steel. This did not help my feelings towards her. That's all I'm gonna say is I was
Yeah.
very suspicious and like, this is I just don't know about this.
I didn't have a problem with it until that last line of "at any cost."
Yes.
Like, okay, so
And
you're.
it just feels like a conversation that should have happened, like, before Suvi left. Like, "Hey, let's game plan a little bit. Hey, what's" but instead, it was like she's on the cusp of arriving, and it's like, "Hey, I'm glad you're there. By the way, this is what you're gonna do." And it wasn't just like "Hey, mention me." It was like, "Here's an actual plan that could potentially threaten your life." I don't presume the Witch of Wind and Stars is gonna like whatever this is.
Mhm.
Um, so, like, here's this plan. I'm gonna erase your memory so you forget it. Here's the other plan, and you're gonna make sure this happens no matter what,
Yeah.
at any cost.
Yeah.
I just was like, how did we not shouldn't we have had a conversation about this, like, earlier, or I don't know.
I'm not detracting from that sentiment, but that would have ruined the plan, right? Because they had to tell her everything in that window that the potion would
True,
erase. So
true,
not to say it's
fair,
okay, but
right.
given Steele was willing to go this far, she couldn't have told her sooner. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think it makes sense because it's like this is a huge opportunity. It's just like the willingness to use Suvi this way is, I think, speaks more to. And again, not that Steele doesn't love Suvi. I think she does, but I think what we've talked about a lot is that she most loves like the Citadel and her duty.
What do you think is happening with the mission? Of putting the music box, making sure someone sings, retrieving the music box.
Yeah,
Is this some kind of spell where you can, I don't know, like borrowed magic, like you can take part of them, or like you can get a read on them, or is this like what
yeah,
is this that's connected to hearing? It wasn't it just like anyone has to sing? It wasn't
yeah,
Indri.
yeah. Just anybody that like wasn't Citadel. So basically, like I
Right.
think that would mean Ame could even sing, which would be an interesting element if like that's what happens, and then like this later comes out, and like Ame realizes she was manipulated to like hurt
Yeah.
witches for the benefit of the Citadel. But yeah, I like originally I was thinking it was like a bug, like a spy
Yeah.
device. But then when
Right.
she was like, "Go retrieve the music box," I was like, "Oh, okay. So what is this?"
But maybe it still is that. Maybe it's almost like the Treshy Scryball, but less functional of like where are they, or more functional than just where are they.
Yeah,
But like since you've captured the voice, you can like lock in on what they're talking about,
yeah.
or
I
you
could,
know.
yeah, I could see it being something like that, and then the library aspect, whether that was just flavor or if that's like intentional, like maybe it absorbs all the knowledge from all of the books in this witch's library or something, and
Mm,
transmits it to them or something. Um, but just this, and on more of a meta level, this was just such a cool play from Brennan. Like this is such a cool thing to play with at the table.
mhm,
Having a character that knows what's happening, but their character doesn't, and
mhm.
so like, and what's also cool is in the fireside chat they revealed that Lou and Erica weren't in the room. So like,
Mm.
so they don't know this double plan. They're only gonna know the fake plan. Um, which is, I don't know, it's just such a cool like element to toss at a table.
Well
Um,
done, Brennan. Well
yeah.
done. You always did a good job with that too, by the way. Like the one-on-one WhatsApps of
Mm,
like, I have yet to do something like that in my campaigns, but I think it adds really interesting. And I love what you said too about what's Ami gonna think when this whole thing gets revealed.
yeah.
Um, I could definitely see there being some real issues there.
I'm also just like, this is a really cool plan. I think you said it you were most excited about this part of the episode. I was too. This is just like I don't know, just like a really fun idea. Like, I don't know.
Mm.
But I wondered if like, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So if Suvi goes away from this, I think this is an actual spell in D&D, by the way. I don't remember the name of it, but in the fireside chat they mentioned, and this might have been like, because they record in advance, so
Mhm.
something we don't know yet unless you're familiar with the D&D spell. But if she goes away from it, she takes 5d10 damage. Like if she doesn't follow the compulsion. So,
Okay, yeah, that's right. The
um,
damage part, yeah.
so I'm curious, considering that came up in the fireside chat. I'm just curious for how this plays out, especially again considering that like Suvi the character doesn't know, but Aabria does, and then neither the character or players of Lou and Erika know. So like if Aabria just starts taking just rolls 5d10 out of nowhere after acting really weird, it's just I don't know. It's just again I just said this, but it just feels like such a fun like kind of situation to throw at your party.
Yeah, it's Gias. I don't know how to say it.
That's right.
G
Yeah, I don't know.
Geas?
Yeah, I don't know how to say it either. Geese.
Um, Gaius? I don't know. You place a magical command on a creature you can see within range, forcing it to carry out a service or refrain from an action that you decide. It must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, which she purposely failed, or be charmed by you for the duration. If it acts in a matter that is counter directly to your instructions, it takes 5d10 psychic damage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yikes.
All,
Which
only ended by remove curse, greater restoration, or a wish spell.
I wonder I wonder if Steele is actually gonna tell her. I guess why wouldn't she? But the whole like this conversation's recorded, so you'll get to know.
Here's what's interesting: the duration of the spell is 30 days.
So I guess if it falls off, do you know?
I don't know, but I mean, what else could Steele ask Suvi to do?
Oh, you can like continue to influence?
Yeah, they're charmed by you for 30 days.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that is interesting, especially. She might use that some more. Also, I think this is a really cool plan, but I also don't know that it's gonna fool an ancient, powerful witch. Like,
Yeah,
sure,
but
if
I
they
mean,
tap the memory, nothing's
mhm.
there, but like can they maybe just even sense the presence of like somebody being manipulated in that way? Like I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if I may be a little surprised if there was like the fake plan, the real plan, and the real plan was actually a fake plan, and there's a real plan that Steele knows. Because I think being caught is a potential purposeful thing. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. So I'm trying not to.
Bless you.
Excuse me. But like, so being caught's intentional. Hang on.
Run it back.
Goodness.
Bless you. 3 times a charm. Is he going for 4?
It just hit me, dude. I don't know what happened. Anyway, being caught's part of the plan
Yeah.
because they want to lean into the thought that they're so stupid.
Mm.
You take it from there.
Even being caught, even with the true plan. Yeah, I if that was the case, then I don't think there's any argument to be made for Steele at that point because then she's just literally using Suvi as like a fall guy, you know. Um so yeah, I am curious the Rasper guy, the guy, Suvi doesn't trust, that is clearly there like to handle the cargo and then he cleaned up the potion as like the evidence or whatever. If we do go like even darker, I wonder if he's there to like leave no witnesses if things go bad. Because like I don't know if I just said this, so forgive me if I did. I blacked out, but the specific note of like his rapier, um, and I think he's not a spellcaster, or he's at least not a wizard, but he might have a name cloak. He's just an interesting character.
Yeah. Um,
You all right?
yeah, I'm just like still on the I don't know what caught me all of a sudden. So yeah. He clearly knows what's going on. Like clearly Steele like prepped him
Yeah,
because he like threw the vial into it and was like, all right, see you later.
yeah.
So I am curious what else is um I mean, it's all very interesting because they don't have are they level 3 now? Is that right?
Yes, which there was a fireside chat of leveling up to 3, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but the last time they did that, it was really interesting. Like, we got to find out about, like, kinda what they can do. So, I haven't listened to that yet, but maybe by our next episode, I will have, and we can kinda talk about that.
Why do none of these groups like release character sheets or like updates on their socials? This seems like the biggest no-brainer, man. Like level 3 is a big level. 2 and 3 are 2 big levels for like the early
Yeah.
development of the characters. I remember Suvi has had some details on her character and things she can do. I can't grab onto what it was, but like things that she could do, things that she could maybe like remember or like
Yeah.
it wasn't like choosing a proficiency, but it kinda reminded me of that.
Yeah, she got to choose, like, I don't remember what it was called either, but she got to choose, like, 3 secrets or something, and they're, like, kinda little bonuses that she could play with. Um,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
yeah, I bet because 3, especially for paladin, that's like your oath,
It's your
right?
subclass. Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm
2 is your
assuming
fighting yeah, 2 is your fighting style, which he went sword and board. 3 is your oath. That's right.
so, yeah, I mean, with, all of them, I'm sure, but at least Ursulon, I bet there's some interesting stuff there. Which I also going back a little to this memory potion, if there is, like, another, like, underhanded desire from Steele's part, and she's, like, not gonna tell Suvi, at least not anytime soon. Um, what's interesting is there's that other call with Yulia that I'm assuming would have fallen in the same window of forgetting. So if and
Oh,
when Suvi talks to her page again, like something may trigger for her to be like, "What? What are you talking about?" You know? So that could be like an interesting element if Steele is not being fully truthful.
the only thing I thought was, if Brennan said, like, you would know if this has been casted on you before. Separate from that, though, I wondered, how do we know if this has been casted on her before?
True.
Um, but here's another interesting detail. We don't know Steel's level. The duration of the spell is 30 days.
Hmm.
If you cast it as a 7th or 8th level spell, the duration is 1 year. If you cast it at the 9th level, which that seems pretty high for Steel, but who knows? She's the Sword of the
Sword of
Citadel.
the Citadel, yeah.
She could have level 9 spells. If you cast it at the 9th level, it never ends. It's permanent until remove curse, greater restoration, or a wish spell.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man. I just feel like from the
Yeah.
little I know about Brennan, I feel like that's an important
That
detail.
that would be a really fun thing to play with as a DM. Because if that's the case, Steele could come clean, show her the recording, be like, "Yep, the plan worked." See, but just leaving out the detail that she's now charmed forever. You know,
Mhm.
so that
Right.
that would be a really cool way to use it.
And I just see like there could be a point down the road where Suvi doesn't like turn her back to the Citadel, but like maybe there's a moment where she puts the line in the sand and says, "Steel, I'm not doing that. Like I'm gonna stick with my friend."
Yeah,
And Steel goes, "Nope," and
yeah,
just like you
yeah,
will. So, and I think Brennan's smart enough to play it out as like, no, you will because you're actually still under the effects, but like more like subtle, like the implications of this if you don't do it, and almost like manipulating Aabria to agree to it. Like I could see Brennan being that sly.
yeah,
So
yeah. Agreed.
anyway, okay, new episode tomorrow. I love when we do these and we
Yeah,
have the next step coming up.
yeah. Me too.
So anyway, well, we have live stream Friday. We have Critical Role. I think we will get to it this week. I just have my second half, the combat, and I've watched probably about half of that already.
Yeah,
So you guys could probably expect that coming out later this week, and then our stream, like I said on Friday, which I just said twice, but it's a really important stream.
yeah.
So
Be there.
anyway, so I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's all we got, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, be sure to join the Discord, hang out. As always, we're looking for more Worlds Beyond people to be in the fold there. Um, but yeah, That's all I got.
All right. We love you all. See
Bye,
ya.
y'all.